Oh, well, according to the story, when all was said and done, we have Exodus 34. And from verse 10 onwards, we list 10 commandments, the which fall in start at verse 10, first one. Second one is verse 17, make no molten gods. First one is, of course, love God, have God as your God and no other. And so verse 17, the second commandment simply stresses you don't make up molten god idols and so on. The third is keep the feast of unleavened bread, which of course reminds you that I'm the one that rescued you out of Egypt. The fourth one comes in verse 19, all that openeth the matrix is mine, every firstling among the cattle, and so on. And then verse 21 gives you the fifth commandment, namely to keep the Sabbath day. The sixth one, keep the feast, or 3 feasts, weeks, first fruits, and ingathering. And the seventh commandment comes thrice in the year, your men shall come up to appear before the Lord your God of Israel. I assume this is to, in some sense, keep a unity and focus that the country's unity is God. The eighth one is on verse 25. Shall not offer blood with my sacrifice. With leaven. Some sort of some purity and separation thing there, I'm not sure. And verse 26, the ninth commandment, the first of the first fruits of thy land thou shalt bring into the house of the Lord. Well, that keeps the priesthood supplied, I guess. And the 10th, thou shalt not see the kid in his mother's milk, which I take as an astonishing addition, really, to the world, how much he cares about animals. I'm amazed at that one. But again, something to do with purity, of course. I don't know. Thank you, Heavenly Dad. But to the point. Verse 27, and the Lord said unto Moses, write these words. So it's not God writing the book, the tablets that they have. It's Moses. After the tenor of these words, that's a sort of vague thing, isn't it? After the tenor, the essence of, okay, I have made a covenant with thee and with Israel. So this is the covenant. These are the conditions, if you like. And he was there with the Lord 40 days, so he had plenty of time to chip away. And 40 nights. He did neither eat bread nor drink water. And he wrote upon the tables. So this is he. And I gather the he means as directed, Moses. He wrote upon the tables the words of the covenant, the 10 commandments. So amazingly, these are the 10 commandments, not the first list that we had in Exodus 20. Very to the point, very strict and concise. Since we don't have the original, we assume that the scripture, is indeed that something similar we have in the end, but a great deal of questionability here, isn't there? I mean, if you're taking all this thing as history, if you're taking a story, well, okay, it doesn't add up too well. It's trying to tell you it's a story. And it's trying to say that I would think, Gnostically speaking, so to speak, something like it had a hope, an outline of what he wanted the people to do. They clearly weren't going to keep it, so he settled for a different set of basic precepts to give them, well, not even precepts really this time, straight statements of what to do. They're not so much principles, are they? They're definite, specific commands. Keep this, do that, have a Sabbath, first fruits are mine. They're very definite and to the point. They're minimalistic in a sense. They're, if you like, the least of what this people can do, and I will lead them and I will prosper them if they keep these things accordingly. It's conditional, of course, on them keeping them. But it's not the purity of the supposed first 10 that we think of as the 10 commandments. It doesn't mean to say that the first 10 aren't the ideal. But he seems to assume the people will not be able to keep them. And he gives them something much simpler in many ways. He's not even saying, don't kill, don't steal, don't covet, honor. They're not there. They're not in the second list. And that's the second list that they have on stone. The list that I've just gone through in chapter 34. Oh dear. And still God is going to care for them and lead them accordingly. Wow. Thank you, Heavenly Dad. Well, it's a story. But it's a very instructive story in its way, isn't it? Instructive from the point of view of at least the supposed roots of this culture that the nation was, or the religion was willing to enshrine and take as its basis. Christianity has emphasized the 10 Commandments, partly because in the Jesus story, that's what's listed, or one way and another. Certainly with the young ruler episode, he's saying, young ruler, well, I keep these social commandments. I keep them all. I keep them. I honor my father and mother, and so on and so forth. And Jesus is saying, oh, well, yes, if you keep those, then you have the kingdom of heaven. You realize, of course, that in terms of the Exodus, we're not talking about the kingdom of heaven. We're talking about a special privileged people, a nation, really, a new nation or whatever, that's going to have the favor of God. It's not talking about life eternal. It's talking about life abundant, not life eternal. It's not saying anything about some next world, purely about this one and God's relationship to a people in this world who, to his disappointment, if you like, are pretty worldly and potentially very ungrateful. So, I'm not saying that it doesn't speak to us. I'm just saying it's not the Jesus story. Thank you, Heavenly Dad.